So as you can see, the Shilamura grasslands are just fantastically beautiful. You had towering clouds, gorgeous streams rolling through them, wild horses, delicious food, and just being able to see how nomadic Mongolian people live is just in direct opposition to what I've seen in the predominantly Han city of Bataar. So it's just been a great opportunity, and yeah, I really enjoyed my time there. It was just a great break from the city. Which brings me to an interesting point about culture shock. Now, oftentimes I hear people say, how did you get over the culture shock? How did you adjust to living in China? And I'll do that in a different video. But what I want to talk about is what culture shock actually is. Because a lot of people think, bam, you get transported in this new place, and it's nuts, it's crazy, you don't understand anything there. And for all intents and purposes, that's a correct idea. But when you really break it down, you can begin to see how scary and real culture shock actually is, and also some counterpoints to what most people believe. Now, if you look at language, I mean, coming to China, we'll just use China as the example. I mean, you're looking at one of the most daunting languages in the world. I'll do a video at some point about how I learned Chinese, but I mean, we have tones involved. Each tone is a different different word, right? So, for example, if I say ma, 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 those are 4 different tones, 4 different words that mean completely different things. Well, this is not as scary as it seems when I explain it, but you can see how language is ridiculous. You can't read anything when you come to China. Characters are awful. They're so hard. Another thing is food, stuff that you think might not be normal is very normal there. A lot of countries, especially China, eat lots of organ meat. So you're eating lots of intestines, which by the way are delicious. A lot of liver, a lot of stomach, all kinds of organ meat like that. At the end of the day, I found that I prefer organ meat to regular meat. You just have to sit through it. You have to go through it. You have to do it again and again and again until you get used to it. You might find that you'll have actually some new preferences. Eating strange animals, like here in America, when I tell people that I eat dog meat, it's just, people, you can arouse some serious emotions there because dogs are people's pets. But dogs are not, they don't eat pets, at least in some places. Actually, I have some bad stories about that. But if you go to a normal dog meat restaurant in Guangdong in the winter, I mean, they're raising crap dogs, the most hideous dogs you've ever seen in your life, with gray fur, and their faces are ugly. Not many people would love them, right? These are the kind of dogs that they raise for me. They're not domesticated animals, Anyway, and like things like spice, like a lot of people can't eat spicy food. And this is a problem because spicy food will give you diarrhea if you're sensitive to it. And if you have diarrhea every day for a year, like I did my first year in China, it's uncomfortable, especially when you're teaching or trying to do something serious, But routine is another thing. Routine is like nap time in China. Every day it's from 12 to about 2:30. Everything's closed because people take naps at that time. You eat lunch, you take a nap. It's kind of weird if you don't. Don't try sending anyone text messages or calling anyone at that time, because it's like calling them at the middle of the night. So this is one thing you have to know too, and that'll wear on you. And closing times, like in some cities, it depends on where you are, but like in some cities things close like at 7 o'clock at night. Most places in China are open all night, so you have to learn about these things too. Workplace ethics, what's expected of you at work, how much work you need to put in, what you need to do, your responsibilities, they vary from country to country as well. Etiquette is a big one. For example, if I was sitting around a table and I pulled out a cigarette for myself and I didn't give one to other people, that would be immensely rude in China. And especially if I gave them one and I left them to their own devices to light it, that also would be incredibly rude. Spitting is, that's, everybody spits everywhere in public. Bargaining, you got to bargain for everything, especially in some of the less developed areas of China, which, imagine if you just, come fresh off the plane and you're trying to buy something and you get ripped off every single time for like 3 to 6 times the price. That's got to wear on you. It's terrible. It's a terrible feeling, and it breaks people down. There's a lot of the reasons I like to say that if I meet 10 foreigners in China, 9 of them will go home after a year or less sometimes. It takes a real 中国通, which is a China hand, to be able to pull off some of the more annoying aspects or some of the more draining aspects of China. But if you do adjust to these things, you'll find out that China is just one of the most unbelievably gorgeous, exciting, influential, life-changing countries and experiences you can ever have in your life. That's the reason that I'll live here. That's the reason I live here now. Anyway, back to the point quickly. Culture shock is not necessarily culture. A lot of people will come from the countryside in England or the countryside in America, not from big cities, and they'll come to a place like China, and the things that they're shocked about are not necessarily things that are Chinese. It's because they haven't spent a whole lot of time in a city. So, I mean, if they go to a Chinese city and like, wow, there's so many people around. Well, yeah, I go to New York City, there's a lot of people around too, you know? Wow, there's so much life here. It's so crazy. There's so much noise. Well, yeah, it's a city. The cities are noisy. Go to LA, you know? And if you think about, oh, I saw this weird stuff the other day. Yeah, you're going to see a lot of weird stuff in China, but most of the weird stuff that you're seeing is just because you're seeing more people. If you live in the countryside and you have one neighbor, what are the chances you're going to see a whole lot of strange human behavior? It's not a whole lot of opportunities to see that kind of stuff. But when you live in a city for the first time, there's more people and there's more chances to see weird things. So adjusting to city life is a big culture shock deal for people moving to China or any country if they're moving to a big city. I mean, this is a bigger, I think, in my mind, is a bigger change than anything else, really. So yeah, I mean, culture shock is a very real thing. People ask that I go through it. To be honest with you, not a whole lot. It's the difference is expectations versus surprise. So if you allow yourself to be surprised all the time, it's entertaining. But expectations is not knowing what's going to happen to you, but knowing that everything is going to be completely different. And this is what most people don't go in thinking. They're like, oh, I'm still going to eat sandwiches. But no, you're not. You're not going to eat sandwiches. There are no sandwiches. Oh, at least I can relax in my hot tub. Well, good luck. There's no hot tubs, you know. At least I can go take a hot shower. Well, sometimes there's not hot water, especially in some of the more remote regions. Whatever. I'll learn chopsticks later. I'll just use forks until I learn it. No, you won't, because there are no forks. These are things that you have to expect that are going to be completely backwards 180 from what you're used to. And that's the difference. And if you wrangle those aspects, you'll be fine.